What is up, guys? King of Underworld back at you with a brand new What If. You weren't expecting this. Well, some of you were if you were just thinking that I was going to be not lazy for once. But yeah, after all the things that happened and also me forgetting to upload yesterday because I fell asleep. Yeah, that's not really going to be a good excuse anymore. But anyway, I thought I might as well just drop this on you guys because a lot of you have just been so excited to see this coming, and honestly, I have too. Like, recently I've started to get back into Doom, and it is so fucking hardcore. So I just had to make a what if about it. And there's probably people that have already made this, but I want to do it right. Not saying the other people are bad, I'm just joking, but yeah. Oh, and by the way, if this video does well, just letting you know, if this video people like it a lot, you can get part 2 tomorrow with a proper mic setup as well. So, that means you guys get double the treat, and also high quality at that. But yeah, this will be split up into chapters and not episodes. So basically, I give it a little interesting title, just put my flair on it. But this is already long enough, as it's almost like 1.5 minutes in, and we haven't even gotten to the good part, blood and carnage. But without any further ado, let's start this bored out story.
Against all the evil that hell can conjure, all the wickedness that mankind can produce, we will send unto them only you. Rip and tear until it is done.
A man that has seen way too many battles, too much blood and carnage, so much death and destruction, wakes up from in a cold sweat, as he looks here on his back to a time when the world was only peaceful, and closes his eyes yet again, preparing himself for the new day. As the only thing that can be heard in the next part is Izuku. Izuku. Yep, sorry. As the teacher slaps him with his hand, and says, "Ow, yep. Are you awake now, finally?" As well, a few people were laughing, as well as Buck on the back. "Come on, man. You gotta stay up. Otherwise, you're gonna make everybody look bad. Well, especially yourself." Am I right, guys? As yeah, people were agreeing with Buck. As he's like, "I'm sorry, Kachan." And as he says, "What, were you playing video games again last night? I know that level I told you to try and beat was hard, but it isn't that hard, is it?" "Oh, no, it's fine. I just had to do, well, I had to do a few jobs around the house, so I had to stay up later to do them." "Ah, well, that sucks." As he says, "Yes, yes, excuses or no excuses, you don't sleep inside my classroom." As well, Izuku just apologizes and says, "Yes, sir." As they go, he gets along. As well, in this world, Deku does have a quirk, and quite a powerful one at that. People see it as people see it as powerful for in concept, but it's weak on Deku. Now, people still respect him because he does have a quirk, and he does show it occasionally, but it is very rarely the case that it has been brought to the people's eyes. Not everybody has seen it, but on the rare occasions that he has shown it, he is regarded as a legend. So much so that even Bakugo respects him as his equal. And that is an accomplishment not many people see. Hell, not even anybody but Deku has seen. As I'll introduce his quirk later. So, the teacher is now talking in front of the whole classroom saying, "Well, I've got all these career application forms that I need to hand out." As everybody just starts groaning and sighing, and well, Deku was just looking down in his notebook a little bit, sketching up a little design. As well, he says, "I'm just kidding." As he throws the pages all up in the air, as they start scattering around, and says, "I know what you all want to be. You all want to be heroes." As well, everybody is getting really excited. As well, this is a very exciting time. Everybody's going on to new high school experiences. They're going to be parting ways, and a lot of them are going to go follow their dreams. Two class, well, two fresh, well, fresh talents are on the market to try and become heroes. As he said, I see two people from our classes applied to UA. As Barker gets up in his chair and stands on the desk, as he says, "That's right. All your extras will be left behind by me and Izuku here." As Deku was just a bit flustered and says, don't don't make everybody feel insignificant, Kachan." And says, "What? You and me are really the only ones in this third-rate joint that can actually become heroes. Others probably end up to delisted heroes, psychics at best." As everybody's getting annoyed, but they don't want to argue against Bakugo or Deku, as he's not given the name Deku, but I'm just gonna keep referring to him to that until later. So they both had applied. As well, this was going to be one hell of a story. As they've been given 10 months of training. As they realize that they've got that until until they're allowed to go into the entrance exams. So they both parted ways after school, and he says, "I'll see you. Well, I'll see you later, right, nerd?" As well, Deku says, "Yeah, I'll see you later." He says, well, Bucko tried to ask him earlier in the day if he could hang out later, but he said he already had something to do, and he said alright, as well, Deku was moving on to go and help his mum with some shopping. So he went an alternative route just so wouldn't get home too late. As he did so, he was going under this bypass. He was walking along like any other day, except today. He, out of nowhere, started hearing wriggling sounds in the sewer, sounding of sloshing and while slapping around in the tunnels. As he jumped around because his senses are not normal. They're a lot more heightened, keen. As he jumps around away from an impact that was about to hit him. As he says, "What the?" And says, "Ah, I see you're a quick one. Not bad, kid. You got quite a built body there. Be excellent for me to hide in. So try not to resist too much. After all, I can't exactly hide in an injured body." As Deku in this wasn't small. He was bigger than Katsuki. In fact, his body was pretty much the epitome of fitness and strength it could be. He was naturally muscular, almost too muscular. However, it didn't seem to fit for some reason, knowing his personality. And that is because of his quirk. His quirk has been called Rampage, but other people just call it Berserker. His quirk, whenever he feels an intense emotion, becomes, well, more, well, the stronger he feels hatred, rage, well, all those kinds of fun emotions, the stronger he gets. Over, over time of being called weak, he eventually gained enough irritation and rage inside of him that his body manifested this quirk. He became a lot more physically bulky, a lot taller, and started progressing quicker as a child. As he was around about 6'3" by the time he was in middle school. So people didn't want to mess with him, as on the one occasion somebody tried to. Well, it didn't end too badly for Deku, but it ended up a lot worse for that kid. After that rumor was passed around, it was regarded as, well, a walking nightmare. Because that kid, oh boy, after being dealt with, after Deku stood up, tried to stand up for himself and not engage, he decided to swing the first fist. As it struck Deku across the face, his rage bursted out from the seams. His eyes went bloodshot as his body started expanding. He became the epitome of rage itself. As he was trying to keep himself calm, he always acts docile because he never wants to be in a fight because he knows how it usually ends. Them battered and bloody, lying on the floor crying out in pain. As the last time this happened, all, all but all but their neck was broken, all the bones in their body, their nose, their jaw, everything was broken. Not in multiple repeated strikes, in one punch. The force that is, the force of rage that built up inside of his fists alone, as he struck that kid, well, he was never able to walk. Was never able to walk the same. However, he was let off lightly, as he was very strong. So the society that was very hypocritical toward Buck on the original anime was hypocritical towards him. But there was also footage showing that he was defending himself and that his quirk is notoriously known for being one hard to handle, as he always lets everybody know not to try and engage him, as well as the teachers let everybody know, to not try and mess with him, as, well, he doesn't have full control over it, as he was not too stable. However, one smartass decided to try and pick a fight, and, well, everybody saw what happens. So, Deku, in response to being, well, tried to being attacked, started growing out of anger as he started dwarfing the sludge villain. As when he is in his angry form, he is over 6'7", easily easily standing around the same height as All Might. As this, plus the intense rage that was inside of his eyes, enough to send any person to have a shiver down their spine and crawling back from whence they came. But this villain thought, he can't harm me. What's he gonna do, punch me? However, this was not gonna end the same. The rage and sheer force that was built up in a single punch from Deku. This sent the villain flying, as if All Might himself had struck upon the villain. As, well, he splattered across the yard. Everywhere in front of him, he splattered across. As, well, Deku's uniform, everything was torn to pieces. His pants barely being able to stay on, as they were specially designed to at least be able to stretch. However, it's been a long time since he was enraged. This caused, well, this allowed him not to be completely naked. However, only shorts remained, just like the Hulk's. And after seeing what had happened, he called the police straight away, as one man was watching, and one man was impressed but also quite fearful from the look he saw in Deku's eyes. So he never stood himself out. And after 10 months of training, 10 months fly by, as he was training by himself, as he didn't want to act, because even if he tried to control his quirk, he didn't want to accidentally lose control once and, well, massacre Bucko. So, this was, he was eventually, ready for the entrance exams, as he was smart enough. Well, he was very smart, as he tried to focus less on his combat and more on his wit, just so he didn't ever have to actually fight with his bare fists, as he didn't want to cripple anybody. At least what he thought. So, he built up a notoriety of intelligence, and people might not know this, but the Doom guy is very intelligent. He's able to use foreign and future technology like they were his own. So, giving him the sheer intelligence that Deku has, this should be able to fit his character. So, 10 months go by, the entrance exams rolled around. As this, well, this sheer test that was designed to focus on the participants' physical prowess and as well as their mental was a one-sided massacre. But not for Deku. For everybody around him, they could only see the sheer amount of destruction that lied in his wake. As he was trying to run through. He was trying to, he was trying to pass his way through. He didn't want to get into any confrontations that would seem to cause him to lose control. However, life didn't seem to think that that was acceptable. As he started losing himself. As then, carnage wreaked forth for the robots. This only brought about more destruction. With his bare fists alone, he would grab the robots, pick them up, and rip them apart with his bare hands, seeming as if it was almost an art form. Some grabbing their heads, ripping it clean out from their body. Others smashing it right into the circuitry itself, causing it to be permanently indented down. Others he would punch a hole right through his chest. As everybody around him became frightful, everybody could only see the sheer destruction that lied in his wake. Everybody moved, as if he was parting the seas himself. Everybody could only stand idly by and watch. Nobody dare move an inch, as they feared for their lives what would happen if they ever got in his way. He slaughtered and massacred. And he kept on fighting through and through until his knuckles are bloodied, and his body was on the point of collapse, as one giant robot started to appear, as his seemingly endless rage from the pain he felt from his bloodied knuckles to his sheer exhaustion only seemed to fuel the fire more. As he clenched his fists, looked up at the robot with nothing but an angry expression, and jumped. He jumped towards the robot, giving it a sheer punch in the face, causing his arm to go elbow deep into the robot's, faceplate. As he jumped down, he was launched back about 30, I'd say about 100 feet after the robot swept him away. He took the blow, and people were just sheerly amazed and terrified. This kid just took a swipe from the robot that took down buildings, as this thing was already showing itself to be a formidable opponent. As he started running faster than even a blue-haired boy in the crowd could anticipate. He was running he was trying to average out his speed, but he's running at 60 miles an hour, roughly about 100 kilometers. This man didn't even have super speed. This was his natural raw strength. This only seemed to frighten the blue-haired boy more, as well as those watching, as they're thinking, he's not a man. That's not even a human. That is pure rage. A lot of the teachers that were watching in the booths were sheerly, distraught at what they were watching. A lot of them were just saying, is he even fit to be a hero with that kind of anger? As they look at his charts and they say, well, it looks like that's his quirk. What do you mean that's his quirk? That isn't anybody's kind of quirk. That's anger. That's something that not even villains have inside of them. Look at them. The robots are in sheer scraps after just facing his fists alone. You call that an average man? You call that someone with a quirk? Not even All Might had that kind of destruction, as there was nothing left in his wake. It says, I understand what you're saying, but this kind of raw talent and potential, it's something that we're looking for. We can't pass this up. As they say, well, what are we supposed to do? It says, well, we can't certainly say he's unfit to be a hero because of his quirk. What would happen if the heroes in the future had to face against him? As nobody could come to form a sentence. Nobody could rebuttal. As they could only think of the sheer terror that would lie in his wake. But this was him only angry from pain. They have not seen the full extent of his fury. As we come back to Zuko, who'd now grabbed a street post, as he pulls it straight out the ground and jumps towards the robot, grabbing its hand and jumping off it again, as he launches towards the faceplate and stabs it clean right in the face with the street post, twisting it around and shoving it back out, while it jumps down into the arms and severs its hand off. As he picks up the hand, people are just thinking, he couldn't. He wouldn't. As he picks up the hand, this thing was, its finger alone was bigger than he was. As he starts grabbing it, lifting it up, and with pure anger, as he hucks it over his head right into the 0 point of robot. It sent a giant shockwave out, as this thing had a massive dent of a fist imprinted in its face. As it started short-circuiting. It it started collapsing. As it fell to the ground, and dust settled around the area, and the only thing that was there was him standing atop the robot, as if it was a bloody body, and a war he had just won. People, as he walked back, he looked people in the eyes and saw only fear. As he just continued walking, people tried to ask him, where the hell did that come from? What are you? And many more questions. He just stared and walked on silently. As by the time he reached the nurse and the teachers had advised him to go towards the med bay so he can get healed. However, he just walked on, completely brushing past them as if they weren't even there. As he grips his fists and stares and just continues walking away. As they couldn't do anything. They didn't. He wasn't even given the time of day. And then, finally, after 1 month. Sorry about that, guys. I forgot to turn off the Spotify playlist that I literally just set to, crushing metal. But, anyway. Let's get back right into it. So, the first day of, school had started around. As before he was even, before he had even, entered the classroom, everybody had knew who he was. They didn't know his name. They only knew one thing. That the man was the culmination mankind's hatred. What hatred? It seemed that all the rage that ever been in mankind was focused on him and him alone. As walked, as people saw as he walked into class, he makes the door look quite small in comparison to him. Everybody went silent. Some people went pale. However, they noticed something weird. It's different. Something feels different. As Bucker, said from the back, "Yo, it took you long enough." As everybody was just looking at him like he was insane, trying to talk to him casually. As he says, "Oh, hey Kachan, I didn't know you were here." As everybody just stares at him, as um, he's just wondering, is there something wrong? As no, as then he just says, why is everybody staring at me? The Bucker just starts laughing. I mean, you don't know? What? Did I do something I shouldn't have? No, you don't know about this. As he tosses his phone towards Deku, as somebody had their phone with them during the exam. As it was, there was never anything against them using their phones. Well, them carrying their phones on them. However, it was highly suggested that they shouldn't keep it on them as they were not going to replace them. So, somebody did manage to bring their phone in. And it was it was a blonde haired boy with lightning bulge in his hair who was being the quietest. As he was the one that actually, recorded the video. As Deku presses play, as he watches the sheer carnage that he unleashed towards the robots in a matter of minutes. As, between all the grunting and screaming, he just paused and said, "Oh, not again." As he gave the phone back to Bucker, it says, "Yeah, those robots could have had a family, you know." It says, look, you know I don't mean to do that." As one brave soul finally decides to ask the question, "Uh, what what's wrong with you? Well, are you the same person?" Is what they rephrased it as he said, that is me in the video. But how? You're standing in front of all of us, and everybody here's seen that video." As and says, "Yeah, I'm sorry about that. That isn't like me." As they were just shocked, as they say, it isn't like him to be like that. However, they thought was just how he is naturally, being an angry person. Didn't realize it was his quirk or his personality that revolved around his quirk. As they start, well, I think he's just they wanted a confirmation, so they go and ask Barker, as he seems to be the most friendly and close towards him. It was a bit of a difficult way to explain it, but Buck eventually just said this. "Look, as long as I've remembered, since we were kids, he's had this quirk." And he said, "Go on." His, quirk allows him to turn his sheer emotions into strength and power. And then, what you saw was him when he lets loose and lets out all of his rage. As it says, you've got to be kidding me, right?" It says, "No." It's like, how can that turn into that? And says, "I know, it's quite shocking. I still can't believe it, and I've known him for years." It says, "Well, with his, pure-hearted personality is what I'd call it. With his personality, as you see right there, being very docile, You wouldn't think it, would you? But here's the thing. Because of that owl has a double-edged sword. People often don't want to go near him because of what they see, what he can do, because he's angry. So he tries to not be angry as much as possible, which doesn't work well for his quirk, because he's more likely to be angry or irritated or even feel pain than he is to be so happy that his quirk activates. So that's caused him to have these weird episodes. Episodes? Yeah, well, it'd be fun as long as you don't piss him off, as well, a lot of people that heard it just gulped as it said, "Oh, don't piss him off," and said, "Yeah, some kid tried to pick a fight with him in middle school. He could never walk the same again." As everybody, like, the room just went silenter than it already was, and as Deku just says, "Please catch up. Don't tell anybody that story. You know, I, it's, I hate it because I didn't even mean to do it. It's just when I go into one of my episodes, it just doesn't stop. I can't control it." Said, "Yeah, but people are gonna know. Oh, we don't want these smartasses trying to pick a fight that end up not being able to walk for the rest of their life." Says, I know, but please, I don't want to seem like a bad guy here." As a lot of people did have their varied opinions towards him, some trying to be sympathetic, well, as much as they can be, like Kirishima, as you just think, wow, that must be tough. However, some people were well, like Mineta, I was just thinking, he's just a villain. But not saying it out loud, but keeping the thoughts to himself, as obviously he wants to pay heed to Bakugo's advice of do not piss him off before you get sent to the hospital permanently. As so, a lot of people have varied opinions. As uh, but he says, but guys, come on, let's not focus on me, please. Uh, let's we should listen to our teacher, who's I think waiting for us. As he didn't even turn around. He's been sitting in the same position ever since he walked into class. As well, Aizawa was now hanging between the door and the classroom, and says, "It took you all 7 seconds to shut up. That won't be acceptable in my class." As well, everybody just went silent because there was two intimidating figures. A man that looked so sleep deprived that they'd murder anybody just for a minute of sleep, and somebody who's so docile that at a flip of a switch will turn into a sheer raging Spartan. They did not Well, they did not know how to react. As he said, I hate the mornings. Teaching kids again. Alright, I want you guys to get changed into these PE uniforms and meet me out in the track field. As someone is going to go ask up about, about the opening ceremony. But before they would even try and ask the question, somebody just stopped them from saying so. Because not only is there two people there, but there's two triggers. You're either going to get shouted at by this grumpy looking guy, or you can possibly irritate, well, Izuku. No, nobody said anything, and they just happily complied with Aizawa. As everybody was walking along, and they went to the change rooms. As Deku was getting changed, it everybody was just staring at him, except Bakugo, of course, because he's seen it all before. As he says, "Why is everybody staring?" It's like your your body. Yes, Deku is sheerly fucking as big as All Might, if not bigger. He's he's certainly what looks like to be a Greek Adonis in human form. He just shocks even the most built people. However, that's not the thing that caught their eye. The thing that caught their eye was a birthmark that was displayed on his back that was in the symbol of the Slayer. As he said, "What's that?" It says, "Oh, that's a weird birthmark. I don't know anything about it. It's just, I've always had it since I was born." As it was in a rough shape, so it wasn't like a clear, detailed tattoo-like drawing. It was rather a rough one that looked like it was as if somebody dropped ink on a piece of paper and it fanned out. But there was also a bunch of scars covering his body, from his hands up to his arms, and even his abdomen and torso. People just asked, "What are the scars from?" As he's, well, as he just says, "Well, as when I get angry, I can't control what I do in the rage. It it's hard because when I don't feel pain in that state. If anything, pain just becomes a fuel. Adding basic, it's like going up to a campfire and dumping a whole gallon of gasoline on it. It only just makes the fire burn brighter and brighter and hotter. But also, it goes out of control. I can control my emotions up to a certain point, but when I get hurt, so cut, bruised, damaged, even attacked, I lose all sense of reason." So, this he explained that during these episodes he often would wake up and with just injuries all over his body, as they would be healed just enough because for some reason his body is able to, well, regenerate itself unnaturally fast. He didn't know why, he just could. It was able to. He was somehow able to run at a top speed well, for practically forever. He's never tried to find the limit. He's never timed himself for how fast he can run, but he can run at top speeds for an hour and not get tired, not even feel sluggish. So there's no limit to how much strength he actually holds. And he explains this. People just stood in silence as they all finished and went out. And of course, thanks to Deku's sheer insane strength, even just being able to, um, even just being able to remember something that was annoying to him, caused the ball to break the sound barrier. And people wondering why he's so strong. Later, when I'm going to explain it later, but just know that the demons in Doom are not comparable to humans at all. So I'll explain that in sort of depth later. However, all these tests goes as you expect, as if Doom Guy ran it. He was faster than Ida, clocking at 100 kilometers an hour, off from full sprint, rather than what Ida can try and do, where he tries to get a preemptive start. However, he has to speed up. Speeding up is doesn't take very long. However, it is long in comparison to each Deku you can run at top speeds from the get go. So he aims that test. The ball goes ridiculous amount of length. I'm too lazy to come up with an estimate, but I'll just say it's able to make Uraraka's feat look almost like as if it was possible for a normal person. Well, when they mean that, somebody without an anti-gravity quirk. And yeah, rest of the tests go quite quite smoothly. Nobody was expelled, of course, because everybody did as I said. There was no back chat, so he did not see any reason to expel them. Of course, he had his annoyances with a few of the class. However, they did. He seemed to look at Deku differently. All the other heroes were afraid of what he could do, whereas she only saw potential in his eyes. However, he was still afraid of what would happen if he ever lost control while, let's say, getting attacked by a villain. But these fears would shortly be put to rest. as I would say Deku could not participate in the well heroes versus villains battles. So instead of it being Ida and Bakugo versus well Ochako and Deku, it would be Ochako and Ida versus Bakugo. Because well, what are you gonna do when some man who go gets hurt can go on a rampage and basically destroy buildings with his bare fists? Yeah, it's not exactly going to look good for the school when he finds out one guy just went on a rampage and kills half its class. So that goes by normally. There was one thing that was significant out of it. His outfit. It looked like the classic Doom Marine outfit. People asked him why. It's not going to be the Praetor suit. He gets that later on. As he asks, people ask him why it's shaped like that. As he says that, well, as you've seen, when he gets angry, his body grows taller. So people honestly understand why he wouldn't want a costume that wraps around him. But he also says that he wants his arm to be unrestricted. Anything that can confine his movements is not to his liking. And so that explains the rest of the costume, as well as it being a lot of it being very well bulletproof and Kevlar lined. So it's able to take quite a few hits and is quite durable itself. So that explains most of it. So one thing that does happen is they all go to the USJ, as this was where it all began. The day of reckoning, as it goes down in the history books. It started out like any other normal day. Everybody was getting ready and excited after they'd been told the previous morning by their teacher that, well, they were going out on a trip to the USJ. And unbeknownst to them, in this world, very two very influential and famous researchers, well, and inventors were, well, they were discovering a new type of energy. They called it Argent Energy, as they already used new technology invented by a man named, well, invented by a man named David Shield. He was the one that was able to bring this technology to life, but the man who was able to use his energy and use it in practicality as well as draw it from its source. His name was Dr. Samuel Hayden. As in this world, the two very big names. There was scientific discovery of a new element or type of energy, as this was bringing everybody into an uproar, especially the scientific community, as this was going to solve all of Earth's future potential energy needs, and the world should be a better place. However, that's where they were wrong. When the students had arrived at the USJ, it was like any other day you would expect. They had walked in and they were introduced by Hero 13 of what they were going to be doing. So they're going to be doing some rescue hero operations, but something was off. Something shouldn't have happened. Mankind's discovery of Argent Energy is one thing that never should have been allowed to go forward with, as they didn't realize that they had looked into their own undoing. Because when the students stepped into the facility, and after a few seconds, well, chaos unleashed itself and showed its hand as black portals appeared. And there stood three figures. A, well, a very tall and well, a very tall and imposing shadowy figure with a suit and some armor or bracings around where his neck should be. Man covered in all kinds of hands, as well as with blue hair and red eyes. But the last one, was one that was truly horrifying, as it looked anything unlike what they've seen before. It was not an omen. No, no. It was something far worse. They did not know they did not know what it was at first, but this creature has now been, well, in the future is identified as the Baron of Hell. This creature is, well, around 10. Well, let me actually read the wiki on this one, because I won't trust house one. This creature, well, is around about 3 meters tall and has that of a depiction that looks like, well, what you'd imagine Satan to look like. Girt legs, big horns on the top of its head, green eyes, and, well, a built up body that resembles that of a man. Now, this thing, it was far worse than any sort of Satan that anybody could picture. To think that this thing is only called the Baron. But that was not the only thing that arrived. As, well, after the Baron roared, echoing throughout the USJ, several creatures had, well, summoned in with a burst of light. As these creatures started screaming forth, these were known as imps. One was too close to it as Baron squashed it with its foot, crushing it completely. Nothing but dust, well, basically turning its bones to chalk. As it seemed to follow, it didn't seem to follow the orders of the blue-haired one. However, it seemed to follow the same actions. So, a bunch of these imps, as they were soon to be called, started rushing towards the class, eager to tear apart their new human adversaries. A battle ensued. However, there was also also thanks to new technologies that were founded, teleporters were available. And after an SOS call was heard, heroes were called. As well, this seemed to be the first case of many to start appearing, as they arrived on scene, teleporting instantly. Snipe, Midnight, All Might, and many other heroes that helped the students in the USJ incident, all appeared. As they were wondering who these individuals were, as they thought that one person can have a transformation type quirk. But the sign was off. There was no intelligence between them, or what they thought. Just savage ferocity. However, they tried to incapacitate these foes, except nothing was working. It was only until they realized, after one student was brutally killed. Yuga Aoyama, who was trying to fend them off with his naval laser, was cornered and was torn apart at the bare hands of these imps, each grabbing an arm and leg, pulling him apart, dissecting him like as if he was some sort of doll, as his body laid lifeless there in pieces, as the demons seemed to cackle in laughter, and some even eating the corpse, as it seemed to relish and bathe in his blood. as this seemed to turn into a massive panic as the students were now fanning out, they were separating. They couldn't stand in big groups, and everybody was on edge. The heroes fought bravely. Some of them survived, however, a lot of them died. They got ganged up on by the imps, throwing fireballs that lowered their defenses while others would come in and disarm them, ripping, ripping their bodies apart, as if they were just made of paper. Aizawa managed to survive, but only just after losing an arm. All Might was able to come in and help, swat away the imps like flies. However, he too was being pushed down on back foot after he was facing the mighty Baron of Hell, which seemed to even put All Might at a disadvantage. However, after another hero valiantly tried to fight for his life, Snipe fell. He dropped his weapons as his body falls down lifeless. The demons moving in to defile the corpse. As Deku, in a pure state of anger, after watching some of his classmates, his friends he'd now learnt after a few weeks, and almost a month of being close to them, seeing some of them die. People like, well, Ochako, Ida, Aoyama, and, well, poorly Koda. Ripped apart. Some of the people managed to survive, but got away not unscathed. Some people have been left scars, or some people have been left permanent injuries. As, well, Ojiro, his tail was cut off completely, ripped off by the demons, and laughed. However, the only one that seemed to save him from being killed was Todoroki, freezing the demons in place, and and Sato shattering them from where they stand. As everybody was trying to retreat, and they all planned to use a mass teleporter, which was carried on one of the heroes. As they tried to use that technology, except something seemed to blocking them. As a well, the blue-haired man was laughing. Says, "Oh, what's this, heroes? Technology not working for you? Well, let me tell you. My friends are in higher places than yours. Or should I say, lower? Much lower than you can anticipate, heroes. Now I'll enjoy watching you revel as I'll revel in the bloodshed that will soon engulf the entire world." As now they were in a panic. They were unable to escape. Their only way of well, their only way of running and hiding was now taken from them. As one man seemed to well, he seemed to rise. He seemed to go. He walked over towards Snipe, picked up the gun he was holding, which was a faithful double-barrel shotgun. As he grabbed the ammo, wrapped around his body, and just glared. As his rage is now taking over. His eyes start almost glowing red at the sight of foul demons. As one rushed towards him, as people just shouted at him, "Deku, look out!" As he grabbed the foul demon by its throat. Grabbed it as it was wriggling, trying to struggle to stay free, scratching along him. However, his skin was now almost, well, it was now almost impervious to his attacks. It only, instead of completely disarming somebody and detaching their limb with one fell swing like he did to some of his classmates, Only one, only left small scratches. Not even seeing the worth of using his one and only new weapon and friend he'd come to rely on. He grabs the demon by the throat, puts his right hand in its mouth, and completely tore its skull off its head, grabbing it and throwing it directly to the Baron's feet. As it starts cackling, as it basically seems to do a gesture as all the imps now start swarming towards him. As everybody is now frightened, they're trying to start protecting him. However, they stopped as soon as they saw the blood-curdling anger that was, soaring inside of him. As the shotgun that he was holding is now being cocked and loaded. It seems the war has now begun. Humanity versus the blood-ridden demons. The first shot was fired. He runs forward at top speeds between all the demons. They try, and they can only try. As many dash towards him, teleporting in front of him to try and slap him, as he only picked them up and blasted them with a shotgun, using only just one hand to block their attacks. Many got close enough to, strike him from behind, as he would turn around, and smash their heads completely into their body. Almost seeming like they never even had one to begin with. As he saw a blade that was left on the ground, as he picks it up and wields it. As many of the demons are surrounding him, holding pure, what looks like to be balls of fire, as they throw it towards him as he ducks and weaves in between all of them. As he runs to the first one, as it screams out and starts raising its claws against him. Using the knife he just picked up, he sliced right through its arm as it seemed to be screaming out in pain. However, that wasn't enough. He grabbed that blade, he raised it above its head, and slashed it completely in two. As he proceeded to disembowel every single one of those demons in the most painful and brutal way possible. As he looked towards the Baron of Hell, the blue-haired man, and the shadowy figure, as only two words seemed to utter from his mouth. They are completely silent and still. Nothing was being said. No demons screeching as they'd all been slain by his hands. You're next. As he points towards him as, Kurogiri and Shigaraki, as well as the Baron of Hell, leave. They didn't flee, however, they saw what they accomplished, has been accomplished. They left, as he swore revenge. He swore revenge on the demons that befalled his world. As local news started going insane everywhere, as portals started opening up in the hearts of giant cities, as these creatures start flooding in. People don't know what the hell is going on, and within a mere few months, Earth has fallen. As the only safe place that seemed to be left is One Eye Island. Everybody who ever thought of having a dream, having a hope, has now been forced to swallow the painful truth that is the world that they are living in. And, the boy that is now turned into a battle-hardened man after fighting many demons and many battles, holds only one thing near to him. A picture of his late mother, as he was too late to save her, as he watched her get split in two, right in front of his very eyes. and the last thing he saw was that damn demon, that Baron of Hell. It, it ordered it. It ordered it all to happen, is what he thought. I'll never forgive the demons. Never. As from that day, as from that day onwards, he never was the same. He never uttered a word. He just stood there with rage-filled silence, forever being unchanged, as the legend of the Doom Slayer has now passed around in humanity's ears. As this is where I'm going to leave chapter 1 off of What If Deku Was the Doom Slayer. So, I hope you guys, I hope you guys like this, of course, because obviously there are a lot of people that can do this concept better, but I wanted to do it like a chapter style, basically. Um, so like a mixture of Doom 1 to Doom 4, which is Doom 2016. But yeah, I love the game so much, and I really hope I can put this character through. Obviously, there's not much I can work with when he doesn't have any vocal lines, so he doesn't have a character we can build on. And the whole point of his character is too angry to die. So, yeah. But after all, I hope everybody likes the video. Of course, if people want it, I will. Well, I'll be getting my microphone tomorrow afternoon. So, yeah. Hopefully, it should be here by tomorrow because I just ordered it and it should be. Well, today is Tuesday and it said it was arriving on Wednesday, so it should be getting here. But anyway, if this video does good, well, not just does good, but also people want the video and comment down below if they want the next part straight away. I'll put it out tomorrow. But yeah, I've been the King of Underworld, and well, I hope you like this blood-soaked adventure that Deku's gonna go walking down, or should I say, the Doom Slayer. Anyway, I've been the King of Underworld, and peace out, guys.